right, welcome back to the Spread Zone, the only podcast dedicated to making you, our dedicated, loyal listeners, some serious cash. My name is Rizz, and as always, the show is brought to us by our great partners at FanDuel. The whole crew is here. Anthony Stalter, Tim McKernan, and you could build your bankroll right alongside us by using the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Get the best odds, great promos, and live bet as the action unfolds. All right. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, I think it's time, Rizz.
As always, our first segment, Tim kicks it off with our recap of last week's picks.
I've got some good news. I've got some bad news. I'll start with the bad. Rizz, you were on the receiving end of some horrific bad beats. And unfortunately, that led to an 0-7.
Oh, my God. It was
week.
Terrible.
You were snake bit several times.
The safety with Auburn and Oklahoma, much less the questionable touchdown from the deceptive play, that cost you. The Rams-Eagles on Sunday was one of the worst bad beats in recent NFL history, and you were actually watching one of my favorite college football coaches, Fran Brown of Syracuse. Mm-hmm. You had the over at 55.5, and would you miss that by 1.5, I believe?
Mm-hmm. I think it ended 55.
Oh, 55, so
I think it was 55.
It was bad.
But the player is in the right area. You're just getting bad beat. That means, as Anthony, we bounce back this week.
This week. We need to remain positive.
That's what that is.
I'm hoping for some good picks this week. That's obviously can't get any worse.
Let's just put
it that way.
The sports betting gods owe you.
Yeah, because they were bad beats. They weren't like bad plays.
Did I want to walk into traffic? Yes.
But you didn't.
But I didn't.
And you're here.
And I'm here and ready to turn it around. What about you fellas? How'd you guys do?
I was middle of the road. I got my lock on USC Michigan State over 56.5. That covered sweat free. I continue to struggle with college, which is really the place where I tend to think I know what's going on. Of course I don't. So I went 3-4 last week. That puts me at 55% against the number for the podcast. From the beginning, 17-14 overall. Rizz, for the record, 10-17 at 37%. But here's the good news. And we need to spend some time celebrating this because this gentleman here, Rizz, this Anthony Stalter.
How did he do?
5-2.
Wow.
1-0 on his lock. And he's now 23-11 against the spread for a winning percentage of 68%. 68%.
I'm happy, obviously, but
are you cautiously happy?
Yes, let's tread lightly.
But let's be honest about something here. A game that we both lost on, Oregon State. You said you were thinking about going with Ole Miss against Tulane as opposed to Oregon State. You wound up choosing Oregon, so your senses were right, and it could have been a 6 in 1 week, and then you'd be sitting at 24-10.
That was tough. So we talked about it before the show. Oregon had it on the 3.
First and goal at the 3, Rizz.
Could have punched it in. We would have cashed Oregon. But yeah, if you go back to the podcast, I was hemming and hawing, and I really liked Ole Miss, but I liked Oregon State being awful more.
Worked. And that was a good read.
And Ole Miss cruised against Tulane. But nonetheless, I'm very happy, but cautious, Rizz.
And your only other loss was the Thursday night game, Bills versus Dolphins.
Yeah, no chance
and
there.
You were given 12.5.
Yeah.
Buffalo minus 12.
And I wouldn't have earned it, but Buffalo, I thought the defender was going to have a pick 6 on Tua's awful interception, and that I think would have cashed, but I didn't earn it, Rizz. Thursday night's been a problem for me.
Well, I need a pep talk, fellas. Talk me up a little bit.
You were in the vicinity.
I know.
You were in the vicinity. Like if you would have been betting some weird things that got blown off the field, you were in the vicinity. You should have won. I mean, you should have won the Clemson-Syracuse one. That's
should have won the
beat.
Rams.
The Rams won.
They almost won outright. Right. You went from winning outright to having Jordan Davis not only block the field goal, but decide, you know what?
I'm going to run it back.
I'm going to run it back. Just because.
And then Auburn,
didn't
Oklahoma.
Fall down. Would they teach you to fall?
I thought they do teach you to fall down.
They teach you to fall, especially
Gurley did.
You got the game.
Yeah, just
the game's over.
Recover the
God forbid
ball,
you fumble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brutally.
Fall down.
And then the Auburn-Oklahoma loss you suffered by a half point was something that the SEC came out and issued a condemnation of the officials. That's how close you were. I do believe here. Podcast overall, though.
Well, like you guys took away my shoelaces and my belt. So thank you.
Major bounce back week for
bounce back.
Well, let's get. Well, all right, fine. We're going to bounce back. Let's take our first break. We'll come back. We will dive headfirst into the Week 5 college football slate. Each of us has 3 picks to hopefully make you some money. And while you wait, open up that big, beautiful, blue FanDuel app and get the lines ready. We will be right back on the Spread Zone. And we are back on the Spread Zone. It's time to make some money on the college slate. So we've each got 3 games we're targeting. Anthony Stalter, I'm coming to you first. Who is your first pick?
So I'm going to take this is a Big Ten matchup that I find to be very interesting. So Ohio State goes to Washington, and Julian Sayin has been very good for Ohio State. Rough opening week, but that was against one of the top defenses in the nation in Texas. Washington has one of the true home field advantages in college football. That place is going to be electric.
You're doing it. I was thinking about it.
So I'm going to take Washington plus 4.5 in the first half.
Wow. This guy's a sharp.
Ohio State, so they're first time they're traveling, first time Julian Sayin is going to be in this type of environment. Washington, well, look, Ohio State's good. Their defense is excellent, but I think Fish is going to have something for Ohio State creatively. I think Washington comes out, plays like their hair's on fire. We get a close first half. I don't have to worry about Ohio State kind of flexing in the second half, figuring things out. Give me Washington plus 4.5 in the first half.
Can I piggyback on your pick?
Absolutely.
Because for my first college pick, I'm taking an underdog in a marquee matchup, Washington plus 8.5 at home against number 1 Ohio State.
Wow.
So you're going full game.
Full game. You know, the Buckeyes have a history of looking a bit sluggish after bye weeks, failing to cover in both contests following their bye weeks last season. And the Huskies are an offensive machine.
Jed Fish has those guys rolling right now. Washington has
second most points in the nation.
Yep. This kid, Damon Williams, has been electric. Now, they haven't played anybody yet, so this is gonna be a tough test.
At home with an explosive offense, getting more than a touchdown is, I think, a pretty fantastic value. So I'll take the Huskies plus 8.5.
I wish it were a later kick out there. I think it's a 12:30 Pacific time.
Me too. I was hoping it was a night game.
Yeah, but but either way, I was thinking we almost had the first time where we all were on the same game.
Wow.
Instead, I of course pivot to Utah State. I think that's the obvious course.
Well, if you're not going to take Washington, you're going to take Utah State.
You say Utah? No, I said Utah State. They are getting 22.5 at Vanderbilt. A lot of people starting to pay attention to what's going on at Vanderbilt. They put up 70 on Georgia State last week in a revenge match after they lost to Georgia State last year. I think Vanderbilt most likely wins that game, but Utah State isn't a bad team. They actually held serve with A&M in a night game at College Station. They're kind of legit, and Vanderbilt, I think, a win, but 22.5 is too big. That's an 11 o'clock kick. I take Utah State plus 22.5 at Vanderbilt.
All right, Anthony, coming back to you.
I don't think Auburn gets off the mat. That was a big one last week. The one, unfortunately, that Rizz suffered the safety and cost him an opportunity to cash. That was an emotional game. Now they have to go back on the road and face a Texas A&M team that 2 weeks ago upended Notre Dame in South Bend. I was on Texas A&M in that one. I love the Aggies this year. That offense is explosive. They got some absolutely electrifying players offensively in that passing game. And again, I think Auburn's going to struggle in this one. I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to do what I did in the Washington game. I'm going to take Texas A&M minus 3.5 in the first half. Because again, I think Auburn's going to be real sluggish coming out of the gates, and 2 weeks of preparation for Mike Elk's team. So give me Texas A&M -3.5 first half.
All right. I like the way you're doing this with the first half plays and the logic of it. I am going to stay in an SEC matchup myself, except I am going to go over to Oxford, where Lane Kiffin vocalized his displeasure with not getting a night game against LSU. He said if we were playing at LSU, we know it would be a night game, but we don't get one. I am taking Ole Miss -1.5 against LSU. I do not believe LSU is as good as their ranking, and I think Ole Miss might be flying under the radar. I will take Lane Kiffin against Brian Kelly, lay 1.5.
I'm on that game as well, but I'm going LSU on the money line.
Oh, LSU money line.
LSU on the money line against Ole Miss.
All right.
Battle-tested LSU team with marquee wins under their belt already. So their defense has been pretty
excellent.
They've been so good. Forcing turnovers, shutting down opponents. Ole Miss has had a softer schedule, and I believe LSU's experience in big games will be the difference. So I'm not playing with the points here. I think the Tigers will win outright.
Nice.
So LSU
value
on the money line against number 13, Ole Miss.
All right.
Anthony, your final pick.
I'm going to the big game. I'm going to Oregon and Penn State, and the way that Oregon has looked thus far has been, hey, we're flying under the radar, despite what they did to us last week, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like Oregon +3.5 against Penn State. Now, a lot of people, I think, are going to be on the Ducks, which might scream lay it with Penn State, but Dante Moore has been phenomenal.
Yeah, that could be a Heisman winner
at quarterback for Oregon. Penn State's defensive line scares me a little bit, but given the athletes that they have, I think Dan Lanning's perfect for this Oregon team, especially in these big road games. And James Franklin, as we know, has struggled a wee bit in these top matchups. So give me the 3.5. I like the hook. I'm getting the hook with Oregon. I know it's a night game and a whiteout and all that stuff, but give me the Ducks.
Tim, write down the exact opposite.
Oh, wow.
I feel like
we're both
sharp here.
Yeah,
we're both out in Happy Valley, huh?
Yes, we are.
Penn State given 3.5 at home against Oregon.
You guys having your first showdown here.
What is a Nittany lion?
Anthony?
It's a lion that typically likes to knit things.
Correct. That's correct.
They're coming off a bye week, so they'll be fresh, right? Oregon hasn't looked sharp in their lone road game, and they're winning at home. Where do they play? Beaver Stadium?
Penn State does, yeah.
Penn State does.
Which is weird, too. They're the Nittany Lions, and they play
in Beaver Stadium. Beaver Stadium is a tough place to win.
It is. It's one of the
whiteout.
We talk about home. Yeah, we talk about home field.
Whiteout.
It's one of them.
Yeah. Give me Penn State and laying 3.5.
I will go with the antithesis of a game that is a classic. Air Force is hosting Hawaii this weekend, as you guys all know, and I know are buzzing about. Hawaii, when they leave the island, has a real issue. Air Force starting a new quarterback. They already have shown some form of offensive momentum. Anyway, I think they pound Hawaii. Somehow they're only favored by 6.5. Air Force -6.5 against Hawaii. I have a rare mix of Utah State and Air Force in my plays. I might be desperate. Might be an indication of desperation.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on college football. How are we feeling? It's going to be interesting.
This is going to. So we got some battles here. Yeah. Tim, I know you got the stats. It'd be interesting to see over time, because it's early now, small sample size. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when,
go ahead
Rizz and I, or Rizz and Tim, or Tim and I go head to head. And if we're on the same play here.
Well, I can't do any worse than last week, so we'll see.
So it makes me a little nervous that he's on Penn State and he's on LSU against your Ole Miss.
He's on LSU against Ole Miss, and he's on Penn State against you.
We'll come back. We'll talk pros. NFL Week 4. We're picking 3 games each, and then our FanDuel Locks of the week. You don't want to miss it. Go to FanDuel right now and get a no sweat first bet. You can't lose. We will be back on the Spread Zone. And we are back for the final segment of the Spread Zone, brought to you by FanDuel. It's time for the big boys. NFL Week 4. Let's not waste any time. Anthony Stalter, start us off.
Well, Tim noted that I have, I'm off to a good start.
68% against the spread.
Thank you, Tim. That's why I paused so you can
Absolutely.
I thought maybe we'd have to do that in post edit. No way.
No way. I want it.
I have not been strong on Thursday Night Football.
Oh, you're going to go back to the well? Or you're going to avoid it?
I got a lot of pride and I got a big ego. Give me the Seahawks -1.5 in Arizona Thursday night. Seattle's a better team overall. We saw them pump New Orleans last week. The Seahawks were my lock of the week. I loved it. No sweat. That same Saints team gave Arizona problems in week 1. Arizona struggled last week against the Niners. Seattle lost to the 49ers in week 1. However, that was against Brock Purdy. George Kittle played at least, a series or 2 in that game. That Arizona team lost to Mac Jones, no Nick Bosa, no Brandon Ayuk. I mean, the injuries mounted for San Francisco, and Arizona couldn't move the ball whatsoever. I wasn't sold on the Arizona Cardinal hype coming into the year. I think Seattle could win the NFC West, depending on whether or not Matthew Stafford can stay healthy for the Rams. But this Seahawks team, give me the better team. I don't care that they're traveling. I'll lay the 1.5 with the Seahawks.
No James Conner for the Cardinals,
yep.
And now the door open on a Thursday night quick turnaround after Seattle had a sweat-free win against the Saints for your lock. I am going to go to the Raiders and Bears and expect a points festival. That's something that the Bears are kind of participating in, it looks like, so far this year. 3 for 3 on overs with the Bears. I'm going Raiders-Bears over 47.5. Raiders, Bears over 47.5, Rizz.
All right, my first pick, I'm taking the Texans -7.5 at home against the Tennessee Titans. Listen, don't let the Texans 0-3 record fool you. The Titans are terrible. They're dead last in the NFL.
They really
net
are
yards per play.
awful.
They have an offensive line. They cannot protect their quarterback. The Texans have a strong pass rush and an offense that's led by C.J. Stroud, who is ready to explode. So it's a perfect get-right spot at home. So I see Houston winning big. Texans -7.5.
Okay. It's a get-right game for the Texans.
Right.
I like it.
Anthony.
Give me the Tampa Bay Bucs +3.5 against the Eagles. The Eagles found their passing game last week in the second half against the Rams, but the Rams, their corners are very athletic but undersized. Tampa, their corners are more physical. They're not going to allow A.J. Brown to just, manhandle them. And if you take A.J. Brown out of the game, we see that these games have been close. Dallas gave Philadelphia a game in week 1, which was shocking, given how bad Dallas has looked defensively since that point.
The Bucs are excellent.
The Bucs have been, Baker Mayfield has given them, how many comebacks? Now, there's three in a row, I'll tell you. I'll ask the question. I'll not answer it. Right? That's really smart. Week 1 in Atlanta, came back against them. Week 2 against the Texans on the road, came back against them on a Monday night. Last week, the frickin' Jets got back into that game somehow. Baker Mayfield responds. If this game is close late, I could see the Bucs pulling off the upset. But give me the 3.5. I'll put it in my back pocket with the home team.
Tim, write me down for the same exact thing.
Wow. Unity.
Okay. Unity on
Unity in the
Spread
NFL.
Zone by FanDuel.
Spread Zone Unity.
You mentioned, Anthony, the Cowboys defense being dreadful. Of course, a lot of attention on the Packers and Micah Parsons as he returns to AT&T Stadium to see Jerry Jones. I think some points will be scored on both parties after the Packers only scored, 10 in Cleveland?
10.
How about that?
10 points.
Stunning.
It's brutal.
Perfect spot for the over of 47.5. That's back-to-back overs of 47.5. I'm on the over the Packers and Cowboys over 47.5, Rizz.
This is the Sunday Night Football game, right?
No.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna be on the same game. I'm taking the Packers -6.5 against the Cowboys.
Bounce back spot for them.
Cowboys secondary might be the worst in the entire league.
You and I seeing things the same in the NFL.
Oh yeah, so you as well.
I'm laying the 6.5 with the Packers. This is a get right spot. Rizz just mentioned it. The reason why Green Bay struggled last week is because their offensive line did not hold up for Jordan Love. And Jordan Love threw an egregious interception late to allow Cleveland to tie that game. Dallas does not have the pass rush. In fact, the pass rush is right now on Green Bay with Micah Parsons. So Micah Parsons returns. Last time these two teams played in Dallas was that playoff game, and Dak had one of the worst games of his career. Again, get right spot. Green Bay owns Dallas. I'll lay the 6.5.
The Cowboys secondary ranks last in opponent yards per pass attempt. So they give up 9.4 yards per throw.
Wow. My goodness. But
Not great.
You get right spot.
Yeah.
We're both going to go with, all three of us, I should say, going to go with laying points on the road against a big brand. I rarely do this, but I've got to take the Ravens -2.5 at the Chiefs. I think Baltimore could very well be undefeated. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to continue to fumble the ball. I just don't see it with the Chiefs. I know they beat the Giants, but I don't see it. I'm going to lay the 2.5 and feel really good about it. Ravens -2.5 in Kansas City.
That everybody make their
Yes,
all
sir.
three, huh?
Yep.
So FanDuel Locks of the week, the one pick we feel most confident in to make you some money this weekend. And I'll start us off because you just talked about the game. My FanDuel Lock of the week is the Ravens -2.5 on the road against the Chiefs. And I think it's as simple and straightforward as it gets. The Chiefs look like a shell of their former selves. And they might win against inferior opponents, but I don't think they can hang with the big dogs this year. So I'm taking for the lock of the week, the Ravens -2.5 on the road at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, maybe they get right when they get healthy and off suspension, but that's not happening this week. So,
By the way, just my picks this week, at least for the NFL, I feel good that I'm kind of in lockstep with you guys.
Yeah, we're
across the board, Rizz.
the board,
The
we're
only one where you're on your
unified.
own is the Texans -7.5 against the Titans.
Yeah,
I don't hate
And
it.
I don't know who the hell's going to be on the Titans, since I was on the Titans against the Colts last week, and that will end up working out really well.
Anthony, your FanDuel lock of the week.
You know what? Why don't we make it 3 for 3 with the No, I'm not.
Wow,
I'm
that would have
not.
been a first.
Yeah, but I did think about him. I did, and I agree with you guys' your thought process here on the Chiefs. Even against the Giants, they weren't that impressive.
Right.
So I'm with you. I just didn't want to dance with the devil again. You know, at one point, when did the Chiefs kind of figure out that they're the Chiefs? But I'm with you guys in terms of the line of thinking. My lock of the week, give me the Washington Commanders on the money line. It's -126, so you're not giving up a ton of juice there. Give me the Commanders, man. This Atlanta Falcons passing game is atrocious. I've seen high school teams that are more imaginative than what Zach Robinson and the Falcons have been. Apparently, they fired the wide receivers coach, Mike Hilliard, as if he was the problem. Found the glitch, Rizz. It's the wide receivers coach.
Yes.
That's why the passing game stinks.
Is he the patsy?
He's the patsy, yes. Dan Quinn goes back to Atlanta. Last year, these two teams played on a Sunday night. Washington got it done in overtime. Highly entertaining, but Atlanta couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. I expect that he'll be back. If not, it's going to be Marcus Mariota. You got double revenge. Marcus Mariota and Dan Quinn go back to Atlanta. If you can contain Bijan Robinson, you've got Atlanta figured out. Awful game last week in Carolina.
30 to
Did not show up. Poorly coached team. Give me Washington -126 on the money line.
FanDuel lock of the week for Tim McKernan.
Penn State, Oregon. I'm just on the over, boys. I know you guys have each taken a side. I'm taking the over, and I love it. 52.5 is the number. I will take the over on the big game in the Big Ten. Penn State, Oregon, 52.5 over.
All right, we've done it, guys.
We've done it again.
We did it.
How do we
did it
feel?
again. I think
You look more. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
I look a little more relaxed.
From segment 1 today, when we had to go over the records, to right now, I'm seeing Rizz. Do you see Rizz again?
Well,
I see
listen,
Rizz.
when
It's a confident
somebody
player.
actually says to you, you were 0-7, it's deflating.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. You know,
But I feel a little better now.
but you were in the vicinity. It's
It
coming.
doesn't matter.
You're in the
I get it.
ballpark for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't, horseshoes and hand grenades.
I get it. I get
No,
it.
we hear you.
I get it.
All right, that's a wrap on this week's Spread Zone. Quick reminder, all our picks are made on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, so make sure you download it today. And, we're building our bankrolls this season. For Tim McKernan, Anthony Stalter, my name is Rizz. This has been the Spread Zone, and we'll see you next week. Good luck, and may all your bets be winners.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.